Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on the ruins of Endowil, playing as the Vampire Counts against the forces of the Wood Elves. So as you can see, my opponent here doing a little bit of defensive geometry with the pointy ears. And so we're definitely going to see how things work out. So Vampire Counts, if you're going into this matchup, some people say it's rough. I personally think tends to be a boring and grindy matchup. Not necessarily a tough one for the Vampire Counts, because you often can't catch the Wood Elf units. Glade Riders are too quick. They can stall you out, and they can sort of, if you try to shut down, say, Way Watchers units like that, Deep Wood Scouts, which you can shut down, but you oftentimes are losing units in the process. You're getting jumped by Wild Riders, you're getting pestered the whole time. Wood Elves don't break very easily, so oftentimes it becomes a grind fest on the front line. It's a very grindy sort of matchup. And so I sort of came in with the expectation that no matter what, I'd be able to sort of win the long war of attrition. Graveguard in the front line, backed up by the Sternsmen, of course, all have silver shields, 90 armor, so my opponent will not be able to just shoot these guys to death with impunity. And of course, these guys do beat every single Wood Elf infantry, except maybe War Dancers with Azure Spears, and of course Wildwood Rangers. And they trade very cost efficiently with every Wood Elf infantry in my experience, simply because that combination of armor, high melee defense, and decent attack against infantry, just so solid here. The Necromancer, as well as Vlad, do make up my command core. I think having a reserve sort of lord or leadership unit is not a bad idea against Wood Elves, even if your lord is Vlad. I did come in with the Karstein Ring, of course, to provide that last-ditch 90% damage resist. If my opponent, for example, had brought much Way Watchers try to snipe me, I could pop this and essentially say, no, screw you, not today. Master Beguilement, of course, Arcane Conduit, Spray's Dead, Van Hell's Dance Macabre, as well as Invocation of the Heck, the Hunger, and of course the Aura of Dark Grandeur. So we've got a whole bunch of sort of kit here with Vladdy Daddy. He's going to be very hard to kill. He does a decent amount of damage over time, and honestly against the low-end Wood Elf infantry, you can sort of chip him down, and most importantly, just hard to kill. And we can always run away with him. A Necromancer here on the horse, coming in with an Invocation of the Heck, Raised Dead, Scroll Shielding, and the Forbidden Rod. So between Arcane Conduit and the Forbidden Rod, we have a good amount of Winds of Magic generation. Dire Pack and Dire Wolves on either flank, and then two Blood Knights. So Blood Knight on either end as well. And Blood Knights I think are great in this matchup, as are Dire Wolves. Dire Wolves you can sort of use to hunt down the light and harass the backline. Blood Knights, of course, a stellar cavalry unit, one of the best in the game. And they will just dumpster any big stuff the Wood Elf might bring to the field. For my opponent's build, though, very campy, and that is quite frankly an understatement. But he did bring Durathu, who's the best pick in these sorts of builds. He does have Sword of Daith, Flock of Doom, Lamentation of Despair, and interestingly enough, my opponent did bring Blessing of the Ancients, so despite not being in the woods, he's kind of wasting money there. Wild Heart, which improves power reserves, so definitely pretty solid stuff there. Durathu, of course, is a beast who's very hard to kill for the Vampire Counts. I'm sure they can commit very heavily to trying to snipe him, but unless they do, it's very tough to take him out. Alongside him is a Tree Man, who, of course, is just mini Durathu, basically. He does have magic attacks. He doesn't have AP, though, and he doesn't have Frenzy, so he's much less damage-oriented and more tank-oriented. Single unit Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts, probably here in case I decide to bring a Mortis Engine, maybe. I don't really know. Personally, I don't think it's worth bringing archers if you're deploying like this, because you're not going to be able to defend them against summons, as you will shortly see. They are screened here by the Winterheart Guard, as well as multiple units of Eternal Guard, and as well as multiple units of Treekin. So 3 units of Treekin, including the Firebark Elders, and then of course the Winterheart Guard, Eternal Guard there, and a Spellslinger of Life. Interesting choice, actually. In this sort of situation, if you're going for a camp, and personally I wouldn't recommend camping, but if you are trying to camp, I would recommend bringing a Branch Wraith just to get that +5 melee attack. As it stands, my opponent did not bring a Power Stone on her, and Blessing of the Ancients is completely wasted here. Earthblood and a Regrowth doubled up I don't think are really worth it, especially because there aren't really good targets for Regrowth in my opinion in this list. Maybe if I brought some damage. Regardless, you can see I do summon some Skeleton Warriors on the back line here and immediately start working on this Blade Guard because I do not want them doing damage to me and harassing and kiting. And although they will defend themselves okay against Skeleton Warriors, this is definitely not what my opponent is going on. And he does lose quite a few Blade Guard here before finally managing to sort of wrap these skeletons off. The skellies finally do fall apart, but not before taking down quite a few of these filthy Wood Elves with them. Now the front lines are engaging. You can see the Sternsmen clashing immediately with the Winterheart Guard, and my opponent immediately selling forward. So I was trying to sort of, what I should have done here, a bit of a mistake on my part, was I should have positioned the Sternsmen here, waited, and got my Graveguard set up to surround my opponent. And that's the most pitiful thing I've ever seen. Trying to maneuver with Graveguard into a position to flank is pathetic, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And I wasn't about to just YOLO into the middle of this formation and hope for the best. But you can see here, the Sternsmen, they will hold pretty well. We do overcast in the heck, Invocation of the Heck, which is a bit of a mistake. You can see I actually self-damage myself. What I should have done is simply use normal the Heck on these guys. This is only one unit. But my opponent does make, not a mistake here, but he does sort of put his Blessing of Life in there. And we are going to countercharge with the Fire Pack as well as the Blood Knights. Although he does get sort of an 8th and push him off. We are doing a lot of hurt to these Wild Riders, and doing quite a bit of work to the Spellslinger as well. And the Sternsmen, being the Sternsmen, of course, once the charges wear off, are going to recover and hold very well. In the meantime, we are kind of collapsing my opponent's flank. You can see the Graveguard trading very effectively with their Eternal Guard. This is why Graveguard is so good in this matchup. They're not the most flashy in unit or whatever, but they've got silver shields, they've got 90 armor, and here they are slugging out with Eternal Guard, backed by Treekin, and coming out on top. Over here, you can see the Graveguard is circled. My opponent did nothing to try to prevent the encirclement, so he's now getting all the Graveguards collapsing on him. In some areas, the Graveguard's alone and unsupported, which means they're going to go down even harder. And we do get another Summoner Skeleton Warrior in the back line. And they are actually tearing through these Graveguard once again, just beating them down slowly but surely. My opponent does counteract. I thought, actually, never mind. It seems to be just my invocation here. But Vlad beating down these guys. Unfortunately, the Winter Guard, being very elite, very high tier units, are holding out. Of course, they do have Unbreakable, so they're just going to hold on to the bitter end against the Sternsmen. The Sternsmen being very mauled here means that this is going to be a very drawn-out, wet noodle contest. But I do believe the Sternsmen will win pretty decisively in the long run. On the flanks, though, you can see we have sort of sallied in with the Blood Knights, done quite a bit of work to these Wild Riders. Whittle these guys down, force my opponent to get some spells on the Spellslinger to try to save her. And now we've pulled out and we're kind of sitting on the periphery, and I'm not committing my Blood Knights. You can see this is very important in these situations. You want to stay patient. Probably should have moved my Necromancer a little bit closer just to get the regen going on more units. Here, I think he's only affecting. Check. He's only. He might not even be affecting. He's affecting one unit Graveyard, which is not good. But you can see here another sallying forth from the Blood Knights who do pile in, trying to break this spell system, trying to beat down these Winter Guard, some cycle charging. While they're not breaking, they're holding. Despite the best efforts of Vlad and company, it's not going too hot, but Invocation of that going down, pulling the Sternsmen back up, and you can see slowly but surely we are definitely winning out. Because one of the big problems for this in this sort of situation is that yes, you get massive amounts of value from your healing, as with Wood Elves, so you get massive value out of Earthblood, you get massive value out of Flock of Doom, but Vampire Counts, of course, are masters of the grinding game. The only one who's arguably comparable in heals is Alariel for the High Elves. So in this sort of situation, I'm getting massive value of my invocations. We're able to sort of cycle charge in and out, just really dumpstering the Eternal Guard, just trying to crack the line. This spell, so you're having a terrible time. The first Eternal Guard does buckle, which is really bad for my opponent. Because without the support of the Eternal Guard, Treekin are really nothing. You can actually see the Graveguard here, sitting at 86 models. After having beaten the Eternal Guard. And sure, they got some help from the Blood Knights and all that sort of stuff, but still, just showing how well they're trading. You can see, even elsewhere, Graveguard holding their own, beating down these Wild Riders, beating down this Eternal Guard, and my opponent is being forced to shuffle along his troops, trying to reposition and make a new sort of line, trying to pull out. But with more summons from Skeleton Warriors, my opponent's line is finally starting to buckle, and this sort of patient attrition game is starting to swing in my favor. Another Master of Pagam going down and through my opponent did not really try to snipe out Vlad, which is very fortunate for me. You can see Vlad's in the pocket, where I use but Vlad, of course, is hard to snipe because they're swinging and missing. He is being hit by Master of Pagam, which means that nobody here can Vlad consistently. And the backline, things not looking too hot for the Wood Elves. You can see they're being chased off, and this is really why we're keeping these guys on the periphery. They've got nothing to do. If I commit this cavalry into the fight here, they're not going to get huge value. They're going to kind of round down, take casualties. What I need to do is I need to get the Eternal Guard off the line and isolate Durthu and open up Durthu and the Winter Guard and the Treekin for attacking. It's much in the same vein as fighting against the Two Kings. You essentially have to break them down. You can see a nice little Lamentation of Despair, hitting a few Blood Knights, but the Treekin are taking a huge beating. And you can see the Blood Knights, they're on the charge out so badly they dumpster the Treekin despite their 80 armor, high melee defense, all that sort of stuff. Blood Knights have 22 bonus for Slards. If they're monsters melee attack with Frenzy, Treekin going down, they're being chased off. And you can see Balance of Power edging ever closer in the Vampire Count's favor as we pushed off and start pushing out these units. And now we're just going to do some escort duty. The Eternal Guard breaking. Tree Man, of course, and Durthu are not dead, but the Lore of Life caster is actually a goner. She went down somewhere here in the pits. I'm not even sure if we can find this corpse here somewhere, but it's somewhere. I guarantee it. It's somewhere in there. But we can see Durthu, of course, angry, grumpy, top of Durthu. Not on these guys. You can see the Winter Guard down to the last model or two. Two models there. Trying to help out in the pits here. Just these guys have no HP. But two of them, they're holding out. They're holding out the bitter end. But my opponent's Firebark Elders finally giving away. The Treekin over here giving away, and of course we do have our Blood Knights escort them off the field, and you can see just how much damage he's going to take these Treekin route, and now we just, whoop, sick of Blood Knight on him, and chase him off the field. We could, honestly, we could send the direwolves after him, but I figured we'd try to kill as much off as we can, just in case something goes wrong, and I'm suddenly forced to recall one of these units. Plus I figured I didn't really want to engage, I wanted to make sure these units were as dead as possible, and not coming back in any good shape. So regardless, here you can see we're sort of boxing up on these guys, working around them. Graveguard is not good at all against Treemen. They don't have very much AP at all. It's being reduced by the physical resist. They of course have almost no chance to hit. I don't have Van Hels's Lance Macabre. I don't even have money for it. So Vlad's the only guy doing anything here. Or not money, but wins a magic for it because I was staying up for another heck. Vladdy Daddy in there doing some damage. He's probably the only guy really doing much of anything for the Treeman, who was raking in kill after kill. But the Treeman is also not very good at killing Graveguard. With 500 weapon strength, which only 100 is AP, it's really not too out of position. So definitely some rough stuff. You can see the Treemen are going to get wiped as our Vampire Mob comes back and goes for the kill on Durthu. And you can see here we do get a nice little surround, and the route is complete. Moral of the story, kids, don't camp. But in all seriousness, new boxing is not the greatest idea in general, I don't think, in this game. It's called new boxing for a reason, especially against a faction like Vampire Counts. Now, granted, it gave my opponent a massive value out of those AoE spells. You can see Durthu there sitting at 200 plus skills. The goodness knows how many of those were worthless skeletons. So it gives you a huge value that way, but especially when you're building like this, basically all this build had was defense. I think my opponent was gambling on me going for the very cheap chaff heavy army, but I don't recommend that as Vampire Counts against Wood Elves. Going wide is one thing, but you go wide with Graveguard. You don't go wide with Skeletons, because Skeletons are so easy for Wood Elves to slaughter. Wild Riders, War Dancers, even Treemen and Treekin, they will just dumpster your Skeletons hard. And that's why Graveguard are just stellar in this matchup. I think they're an amazing pick of a unit. And my opponent didn't have any good counters to Graveguard, except Durthu. So that was just a disaster in the making. The Graveguard is just in a slow attrition fest. Beat down those Eternal Guard. Yeah, we lost a team of Graveguard in there, probably to Durthu at some point. But otherwise, we were just able to sort of beat him down. Blood Knight cycle charging in and out, farming damage. The Dire Pack helping pick off the Spellsinger, which unfortunately I didn't miss in the game. But and we just sort of cracked these units over time. And then our Blood Knights were still in decent shape. It's very much a patient game. If your opponent tries to new box like this, always be patient, sort of move in slowly but surely. If you are trying to play this sort of defensive strat, still you need some sort of damage, range damage. Gladeguard and Durthu is not going to cut your range damage, especially against a faction that can just bog you down in hordes of summons and garbage troops, and is getting a huge benefit from this because of the way their healing works. So, nonetheless, good game to my opponent. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe below. If you have not already, every little bit of support does count, and I do appreciate you guys for supporting the channel. If you have any comments, any criticism, as usual, guys, be sure to share. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.